Hi, and welcome to the Webmaster Search Helpdesk Hangout number 92. Well, it's going to be really boring this week because not much has happened really on the Google scene, has it? I think we'll start off with a round of introductions if you want to kind of kick it off, Barry, and we'll work our way down the line.
Hi, I'm Barry. I've been covering a lot of Google updates this week, or the past couple weeks actually, but officially this week. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Next.
Gary?
Probably doesn't have a mic.
You're either muted or you don't have a mic. Jenny?
Hey, Jenny Hallis here, just popping in to see what's what. It's been an exciting few days. Looking forward to seeing what the community has to say.
Okay, Michael.
Hey, it's Michael Klein from Be Found Online in Chicago, a SEO analyst.
Robert.
Robert O'Haver, Internet Marketing Consultant. That's it.
I'm not sure I want to get William to introduce himself.
William Rock, Kansas. Been not sleeping for the last 3 days from following an algorithm, testing a ton of software, and yeah, it's been fun.
And Wissam Dender from Daytona Beach, Florida, 2014 #1 Search Engine Roundtable fan.
So, I guess we're going to kick it off with Barry talking about what's happening with Google and boring stuff.
All right, you want me to start talking? Okay, let's get my title. All right, so let's talk about the Smurf update. Watch people start calling it that now. All right, so what happened this week? Google Panda 4.0 rolled out. Matt Cutts announced it Tuesday night, right? I believe it was Tuesday night. Around 6 p.m. Eastern time or so. And it looks like a complete rewrite on some level to the Panda update, which targets specifically low-quality content sites. And a lot of sites have been reporting that they were either hurt by this or saved by this, and there's a lot of results around that. We at Search Engine Land posted the winners and losers from search metrics. The biggest loser happened to be Ask.com in terms of big sites. They lost, according to search metrics, about 70-something% of their SEO visibility, not necessarily all their traffic. Also, eBay lost about 50%, and Google's venture-backed RetailMeNot lost a lot as well. There are a lot of sites that have claimed they have recovered. A lot of you probably have clients that have saw significant recoveries from your clients in terms of this new update. Matt Cutts of Google implied to me that this update was not necessarily a more gentler update that we're expecting, but this kind of lays the groundwork for future updates and rollouts to be more gentle to those that were impacted in the future. We also have a poll where I asked a bunch of people, how well are they doing after this Panda update? And it's kind of maybe a little too early to tell, but you can easily tell with these updates typically the day after, but even though it's probably still rolling out for some. But the majority of people said, and this is always the case with these polls, their rankings stayed the same. Then a lot of people said their rankings decreased. Some said their rankings recovered and so forth. So it's interesting to see a lot of this stuff. Just to throw things into the mix, at this time, Google also announced the same day, or at least confirmed to us the same day, that over the weekend they released an updated version of their spam algorithm, also called the pay-to-load algorithm, which targets very spammy types of queries. So you saw a lot of the Black Hat forums talking about updates over the weekend and so forth, and then we had all of this. So those are the main two algorithmic changes that happened this week, was Panda 4.0 and Google's spam algorithm.
Don,
and I bet you there's other things going on, significant things, other things going on around that we haven't been told about yet, but that's what we know. All right, so you can take it from there, I guess. Awkward
It's all gone
silence.
very quiet. Nobody wants to talk? Do I have to talk?
You're the moderator, so you have to tell people to talk.
Okay. Well, what about you, Wissam? You deal with quite a lot of global stuff. What's your impression? What have you seen?
I mean, I actually didn't see any movement, just one side that basically gained about, to be exact, 43%, but till now I don't know why it gained. Some of the sites that was above it for certain queries actually went out of the top 20, but other than that, just probably.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of with Psalm. I think a lot of reports out there on the web, especially on Webmaster World and everybody else. I think it's basically saying the same thing. How I think I've seen it a little bit different. I don't mean to interrupt, guys, but e-commerce, I believe, has actually taken a better hit than anything else than content stuff. Lead gen versus e-commerce.
When you say a better hit, what, it's been affected more, or it's been boosted more, or what?
I think that a lot of there's a different signal in some of the things I've seen, as far as some of the things I've seen on Webmaster forums, losing traffic for top keywords in e-commerce more than the actual necessarily content lead gen type, maybe attorney or some type of other like service that they would be providing, like a managed service role or something. But what I also have seen is multiple people that were affected in 2011 with the first batch of algorithms, that they just basically lost 80–90% of their traffic and had to survive on paid advertising, basically have fixed their problems. Not necessarily just links, but actually user experience, as well as content towards the actual visitor versus just trying to sell a product. And then those have actually increased dramatically. And then I've got another e-commerce that has also increased dramatically with the same problem in 2012. They dropped about 80%, and now they're actually thinking they're going to come back. They've laid off all their staff. It's just the owners now basically trying to keep the company alive. But before they were their top vendors for distributors, manufacturers, all those different things, and then they got hit, got destroyed, and now they're finally feeling the comeback. So I think some of the people actually recovered out of this very well, that have actually done what Google's asked them to do, which is cleaning up the web. They destroyed it in the first place with comment spam, press releases, article spinning. I mean, the list goes on. We all know those. But some of these big players did do those, and now are coming above their main competition. So that's kind of exciting news for, I think, my side of the patch. But I've also seen some really devastating, not necessarily good sites, but they had a ton of traffic. They were brands, and they've dropped. And so what I'm looking at right now is, why did they drop? Because nobody's really reported on why they dropped. They just, top winners and losers, but nobody's actually identified, was it links like Panda, or was it on page like Panda?
No, I think most.
Sorry, opposite. Sorry, guys.
All the way around.
Yeah. Oops. I started getting
content.
kind of tangents. I apologize. I know what I'm talking about here, but anyhow, not right now.
Right.
Go for it.
I mean, I think it was most of this. I mean, I took the list of search metrics and went ahead, put it in search, SEMrush, and tried to see what type of pages that being, pushed down. What are the type of queries and which query spaces and.
Usam, are you talking about eBay?
No.
Okay.
No.
Take for example, I mean, we all run our own sites, but what if you were to run all these tools on, like, for example, eBay or some of the other losers and winners, right?
No, I checked one. I checked one niche, and it was the recipes, because there was two My Recipes and Simply Recipes went down, and I saw a couple other ones that actually went up, and I saw others that wasn't reported with search metrics that actually went down also with the Panda update.
Correct, and that's what I'm seeing as well. It's an unusual. It's not the typical update that we're normally seeing with a Panda. I think there's a lot more that we're not being told. Here's the other thing I've noticed is basically. Remember we talked last week. I was like, okay, it may be a data refresh. Michael mentioned, hey, it just might be a data refresh. But what we saw, if you look at like things like Majestic SEO, you'll see that they actually dropped in their rankings at May 18th. Now, that's a little early, but there was also a downfall in SEM Rush that shows some of their traffic loss as well. So what I'm trying to identify, they also had a lot of link drop. So what did that mean? Does it mean that they actually get rid of a lot of their crap before maybe this update that they knew was coming? They got notified at SMX about something coming down the pipe, right, Barry?
About Panda?
Well, if you look at like, say for example, Majestic, right? If you look at the actual drop in their link structure, you're going to see a gigantic fall, especially with their ranking in August. Sorry, not August, April. April and then to May. So we see a huge drop in May, but then they also dropped in April, but nothing was reported.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Like, I remember actually, I think Barry reported on it as well. There was maybe a month ago. It was actually, I think it was Song Lyric websites that saw that similar drop as well too. So I'm wondering if it might have had to do with that same thing. And that was that's now that Panda refresh came out, it almost felt like the testing ground for what's happening now.
Remember we were talking about on the green room about that possibly a testing ground. We didn't know if it was going to be like a refresh or if this was an actual update, but it wasn't announced. And then Matt Cutts announced it. But at the same time, as if you look at eBay, Ask, and some of the other losers, you're going to find that all of those fall-offs were like around May 18th.
Right.
Just those are my observations, but I'm actually working on doing screenshots and documenting it, hoping to get it done this weekend. But again, this is like the holiday weekend. We didn't expect an update for this.
Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, look, it's still early days. I mean, everybody's still kind of tinkering and fiddling with the knobs and seeing what the implications are.
We have all these documents out there confusing people, and that's what's got me bugged. And there's a lot of documents.
Stay normal. I mean, that's just what happens. I mean, every single time a big update rolls out, everybody goes crazy about it, and everybody's pulling in different directions.
True. All right, I'm sticking out for a second.
Okay, Barry, you wanna address Serena's questions?
I could read it, sure. She asked about what about press release content? How is, I guess, Panda impacting that type of stuff? I'm not going to say who she works for because that's in the chat. We probably shouldn't say that. But just curious if any the press release sites have saw any impact on that. I have not heard anything specific around press release sites about that specifically. To be honest, I don't know if any of you heard anything. I don't think I've heard anything on that area at all. Let me take a look at your specific. Are you worried, Serena? I don't know if you could talk, but are you worried specifically about the traffic to your specific domain name or to the way it's distributed out to your distribution channels?
Sorry guys, I'm having some microphone issues. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oops.
Oh, that's not good.
Smart, she left. Anyway, I don't think it had any impact on. I haven't seen. I mean, it might have. Let me take a look at their specific site.
Pasted the link.
You pasted the link. What do you like better, SEMrush or Searchmetrics?
I think Searchmetrics, I like them because they have more data. But I love both tools. I mean, probably pricing-wise, Searchmetrics more enterprise than SEMrush. Well, I actually subscribe to SEMrush. No.
Well, according to Searchmetrics, the company you work for, Serena, looks like it got hit.
It does.
It does.
So what would we, and I apologize for asking this here, so what would we, should we, I guess we need to look into fixing that, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys, thank you so much. That gives me some feedback I can go back to my team with. I'm having a total crush here listening to all of you guys, so I'm going to try not to be a total geek freak, but you guys are awesome.
Serena, too, I would wait probably a week, maybe two, before you do anything, because it might be it might come back.
Okay.
I mean, also you have access to your own analytics, right? So you can actually tell better. So. Yeah,
and I'm traveling, and I saw this Hangout, and I just took full advantage of it.
Welcome.
Thanks, you guys.
I'm just curious. I'm going to be taking a look at a couple other news sites, or I guess press release sites. Yeah, a lot of them. Big hit.
Hey, Barry, can I actually interact on that PR sites? Like PR Web and all those other companies. I mean, we've seen that technique work a long time ago. It still works to a certain extent. The only thing I've actually seen it work, and I haven't done press releases for quite some time, but I have seen it being effective in news, Google News, and that's what they're actually in the process of improving. So I don't believe that technique really is going to work very much longer. It's a press release. Press release is not for ranking. An article is for ranking. A document worth ranking will rank.
So, and actually, let me just jump in. I'm presenting around the country telling everybody that. I've done 22 presentations across the country, all talking about how press releases have nothing to do with SEO and should not be used for that they're news documents. So very excited to hear that you feel the same way. Sorry to...
And I'm sure with probably millions that are watching this right now, they're going to disagree with me. But, you know, it's called A/B split testing for a reason.
Can I ask the question about over-optimization with respect to the title tags and meta title and meta description, and how when Google... Okay, I just came across, I've come across it, Matt Cutts put out a video on the subject of if Google feels that your meta title and your meta description are off, they reserve the right to change it to better suit what the user is searching. So my question is if a site is deliberately trying to minimize its over-optimization, how does that play into effect when Google changes the title tag and applies, say in this case that I just witnessed 5 minutes before I came onto this Hangout, it applies the main keyword phrase, which is also the company brand name, to the title on a couple hundred pages. It ignored the title that I had set for the site and deliberately put in the company name, which happens to be the main phrase.
Don,
yes?
This has been actually addressed a lot of times, especially in the Google Webmaster help forums. That's something that Google actually points a lot of companies towards. However, you know, I think your question is very valid. Google does change those things, but it's actually for what they're thinking, and I think their justification is a better user experience when they can actually understand your page. You may have, there's a lot of companies out there, you're not the only one, where it changes that information. But to be honest with you, I think Matt not Matt Cutts, but Matt, come on, help me out. Talked about this last week on the Hangout, Storms talked about this on the Hangout, and it's really coming back down to he's not lazy, but if Google wants to actually change that for the builder or the search experience, then go for it. But at the same time, modify it a little bit. If you were doing a paid advertising, what would you put in that meta tag? What is that page relevant to? And not really like the the pipes and all sorts of other things you can put in that meta tag. There's best practices even today for something like that, and that is, it's only one of many ranking factors. It's not the gigantic worst one. So
No, it's just important too that you don't have the same title for every page. You want to have it unique to each page that it refers to. So you want to, like, if you do see Google changing it, and I've seen in a lot of cases where Google's, what they've decided to make the title is not really necessarily the best. So you can go in and change that and tweak that, and eventually Google will pick up the one that it likes. I mean, or you can leave it the way it is. But I highly recommend to.
I was most curious about the correlation between whoever handles, like when they change the meta title, if you're trying to fly under the radar of over-optimization and they change the title to, basically, in my opinion, I have no other choice to think that it's really rather spammy title that it's been changed to, how does that impact algorithms, right, that are checking for over-optimization? Does it?
If Google's the one doing it, I wouldn't worry about it.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I hope the case. That's all I have. I just wanted to know that.
Okay, Barry, say you got some more news.
Anybody deal with spammy sites here? Spammy queries?
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
Okay. Do you generate spammy sites?
I do not generate spammy sites.
That's not
And if
fun.
I did, I wouldn't admit it here. No, I work with a couple of industries that are highly spam-filled.
Okay. And you saw anything over the weekend with that in terms of those problems?
Yeah, our sites, my client sites haven't seen any impacts across industries. But in the spammy site vertical, we have seen some of their competitors get hit.
I'm talking about specific spammy queries, like Viagra, payday loan, stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't share that. But adult and things of that nature.
Yeah, just the 4 Ps: pills, porn, payday loans, and what was the last one? Forgot.
PPC.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, I was curious. Anyway.
However, Barry, it's not just the spammy queries that have gotten hit. It's just a refinement of that algorithm for those queries that actually helps with all the other queries before that. So
I know. I'm just curious if anybody in that area saw any change over the weekend regarding that, because they announced they refreshed that or did some type of update.
Well, we saw some of the top losers really destroyed.
That's totally separate. That's Panda related. Those are real legit sites not competing in the necessarily the spam. They might have some pages on the spam. He's talking. I think Matt Cox was specifically talking about sites that target these very, very specific. There's 2 algorithms talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that one.
I
think there's more than just 2 algorithms going, though.
Oh, of course. All right, let's talk about MetaFilter.
Just real quickly to clarify, none of my client sites got hit with either of the 2 algorithms, but we did see some competitors drop out for the Payday Lens algorithm.
That's on the record, right? I'm just joking. Anyway, good. I'm glad to hear that. Next is the MetaFilter stuff. I'll give a summary. You guys can think what you think about it. But MetaFilter is probably one of the older, or probably the oldest blog-related communities out in the web. Started in 1999, before there was real blogging, I guess, the term blogging. And they added some QA stuff towards, early on, and people really liked the site because it's one of these old-fashioned sites. The owner posted something on their blog saying MetaFilter is pretty much almost dead because Google slapped it with like a traffic hit back in the day. Specifically on November 17, 2012, which was very interesting to me, that specific date, because I covered a search update that Google said they denied completely, that there was no update on that date. A few days later, they announced a Panda update on a different date, but on the November 17th date, they did not specifically say, they specifically said there was no update on November 17th or 16th, whereas Metafilter said they actually got hit on that date, and now Matt Cutts is saying on Twitter that he and the owner of Metafilter have been discussing it over the last week or so. So obviously, what hit Metafilter is very interesting. I don't know if it was, I doubt it was Panda, because it was pre-Panda. It was a few days before Panda. And the question is, what happened on November 17th that Google's not telling us? Is it a bug or is it something else? But Metafilter was hit by it. It will be very interesting to see if anything is reversed based off of all the press going or the buzz going around that new blog post they wrote, because they're going to shut down if they can't increase their traffic. Just let me ask randomly, see who was listening. So Sash, you heard that? You heard that? I mean, you read the story? Did you read about that or no?
I wasn't listening.
Okay. You read about the whole Metafilter stuff.
Very on the Metafilter stuff. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening, but then at the same time, as you've got people dropping, though. I mean, look at the results. I mean, how do we stop that?
No, I'm just curious. I'm talking about the Metafilter specific example, just because it happened on a date that Google confirmed there was no update.
Yes, I remember that.
And Matt Cutts is saying they're looking into it. And the question is, what are they looking into if there was nothing happening that day?
And that's the mismessage. I mean, everybody's talked about it, but nobody's really kind of got an answer to that.
But if they gave the answer actually to Metafilter, it better be a public one too.
Working on it.
We figured you were, Barry. If anybody would know that answer, I mean, you would probably know the best one, because we get to speculate, right?
I mean, it'll be. I mean, it's whatever. Drama.
Well, the thing is, that specific date, if you look back at what the Webmaster World thread from there, it's all around user-generated content sites that were complaining that they got hurt or hit on that date.
Well, we saw a lot of people actually in the Webmaster help forum that also lost that same thing. I think you actually reported in your report that link to people talking about that, right, Barry?
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually in that forum thread trying to help these guys out, but yeah, never mind. I won't talk about it more.
Frustration, man.
Well, there's certain things you can say, and then there's certain things. It's basically user-generated content that was spammed because they had vulnerabilities. I mean, if you're going to get a user-generated site, make sure you control it with moderators.
Well, they do. They do.
Well, they do, but it's not really legit. I mean, half the stuff that gets posted doesn't really get through the. I mean, it gets through the moderator because they have it open allowed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it should be don't post until it's been moderated. I mean, don't have the staff. I mean, if you don't have the staff, don't do a user-generated content site. Otherwise, you're going to get killed.
Okay.
Just my thoughts.
Okay.
Hey, Josh.
Hello.
Hey, Josh.
Oh boy.
Now
Now
Being lazy today?
Now, on the...
Josh, what do you think about Panda 4.0?
I don't know what I think about it right now.
Is it ethical?
I don't have much of a problem with the algorithms that move sites up or down for quality.
I'm just joking. Yeah, you look relaxed. You look comfortable.
Yeah, no doubt. That's like not normal for you, bud. You're black, right? Black hat? Just kidding, dude. Don't worry.
I was wondering if you guys heard anything about a Penguin being released at the same time, because I have a couple customers who were hit by Penguin, and they may also have been hit by Panda as well, or payday loans, although they didn't have any drops on any of those dates. But they seem to get a slight recovery this last week, and I'm just wondering if what you guys have heard about it, because it's really hard to tell if I can take what they're saying at face value.
What did you see 2 weeks ago in your traffic on impressions?
These are all either friends of mine or customers that I don't have access to their analytics, but I asked them exactly when did you see a drop, and they told me a Penguin date sometime in 2012 or 2013. And I said, and you're sure you saw a market increase in this last week between the 16th and the 19th? And they're all like, yeah, there's 3 people.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, they didn't announce a Penguin, so I don't assume it's a Penguin. They announced payday loans and Panda. I don't see why they wouldn't announce Penguin. If they're going to announce payday loans, they're going to announce Panda. If they bother Penguin at the same time, why wouldn't they say so?
Rumor has it that they're supposed to be releasing Penguin next week, but right now we've all seen kind of a mixed bag of things, and I'm going to set up. Let's do a private conversation later. I'll tell you more.
Okay. Sasha, Barry, have you guys heard about anybody else saying that Penguin was released?
So I've heard rumors about Penguin, but the truth is you have to understand some sites that also have a Penguin penalty might also have had a Panda penalty or a filter, and if they, one might have been released, and they might have been released in Panda, and then so the traffic go up a little bit, but then the Penguin still might be there.
Right.
So it's really hard to tell without Google confirming, and if we don't trust what Google says,
Yeah.
Glenn Gabe has said that he has seen some of his clients with Penguin recover, and he's always maintained that sometimes he sees recoveries for Penguin when Panda rolls, so you might want to check with him.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else hear about the whole metafilter thing, metafilter story? So anybody else read about that?
Just what you wrote.
Yep, exactly.
Pretty much.
Any thoughts on it? I mean, what do you? I'm sure Josh, if you read it, you'd be pretty upset.
I actually checked it. I mean, Twitter was buzzing yesterday. I mean, why did actually Matt Cutts approach this guy that way, and you have a million businesses being affected? And I don't know. I mean, that's why they were talking on Twitter, on Facebook, and all these. His approach. I mean, what he's gonna say? How to fix it?
Okay. What else we got here? I mean, there's some other topics, but those are the main ones that are important. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of AdSense stuff that's being talked about class action lawsuits. People based around that guy who said he was a former Google employee, worked in the Google AdSense team, and went ahead and said Google has done fraudulent things to scam their publishers. So now, based off of that, which happened a few weeks, which I personally, honestly, do not believe. I don't believe this guy is telling the truth. He looked like
no, neither do I.
It might be true, but based on the way he wrote it, then it just looks like he's not. Anyway, based off of that, people are trying, or there's our law firms trying to actually form a class action lawsuit against Google about that. I think that'd be great. I think it'd be great to see that. I'm not Google, so I'm not going to be personally hurt by it. And I think I own 2 shares of Google, just as paying my wall, so it doesn't hurt me financially either. But I think it'd be awesome to see that, because then a lot of data could come out about stuff around Google AdSense that we might not have known beforehand. But I'm not sure if it'll reach that status. So that's other news. I feel like I'm just talking. I feel bad, but okay. And then there's also a lot of publishers have received personal identifiable information PII AdSense breaches. So that was interesting as well. Somebody else has to talk because somebody's about to make some noise in my office. So somebody else bring up something.
Barry, did you find anything else out about authorship? What was going on there?
They didn't respond, but it was a bug. They responded to looking into it. By the time they responded, it was fixed. So I assume it was a bug.
My question is, why is everybody so obsessed with authorship, Barry?
Everybody wants to see themselves.
Especially Barry.
Especially, yeah.
I mean, there's been tests. I've done multiple tests using the tags and not using the tags, and I've seen the same results with or without the tags. Google knows it's a machine. Machine learning algorithm understands with or without the tags what you are relevant to and who people are talking about, social and actually whatever link people want to think.
So you're saying authorship has no impact on click-through rate?
Well, of course it would.
So
It's
why
like
wouldn't-
it's like a PPC ad, right? If you had a visual, then that's cool. But the visual automatically is linked to the master profile of the account. So why would we have to worry about that when the actual profile image is already there in Google's profile? Same thing with slideshows. I mean, look at the Rolodex that goes across the top of the actual result for example, pizza. How do you get those images inside that Rolodex? I found it through Google Images. The client had Google Images, and I hate to say it, my daughter actually shot the pictures of pizza and a salad bar and everything else, and those made the actual Rolodex. How is that possible? Those are the questions I think we should be asking, but that's just me. Silence! Now I see what Barry's talking about.
I got a good sound.
Come on, Michael, jump in. You haven't talked for a while.
Oh man.
Dude, you're on the spot now. What's the answer?
All right. Well, I got an article.
Aloha.
Authorship. What's your take on authorship, bud?
What's my take on authorship? My take on authorship's that it absolutely provides click-through value. I mean, and it's
But how do you get it?
how do you get it?
Oh, geez, yeah. How do you get it?
Like how
Do you think they're using it for ranking?
Do I think it plays into
How do you
ranking?
get it in the search results? That's part of ranking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think it plays into ranking. I think there's been some evidence of that for sure, and I mean, definitely in the speed at which blog post seems to get indexed as well too.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
So, I mean, I absolutely think there's value to it, and I mean, it's been a little bit weird in the last week seeing some of the fluctuation there. So.
Well, what we've actually seen is the abnormal. It's not the right. It's not the same one that you call in your data. I mean, you can call an image, but that doesn't guarantee you the opportunity to get that image in. It's what Google decides.
Right.
Another interesting thing that happened today was about the spiders enabling JavaScript for websites when they crawl to get a better understanding of the layout of the sites. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
Yes.
Google wrote a blog post about them getting better indexing JavaScript. They write this blog post literally like every several months or so about how great they are at indexing JavaScript and crawling JavaScript. So, but now they actually hinted and they said they're going to come out with a new tool that shows problematic areas with crawling JavaScript on Webmaster sites. So in the next coming days, who knows exactly when, Google Webmaster Tools will show a new report that shows you, crawl issues or indexing issues specifically around JavaScript. That would be interesting to see, obviously, because a lot of sites are, using Ajax and a lot of different JavaScript types of calls for that purpose.
So Barry, on that, I mean, what do you think about with mobile with that kind of stuff? I mean, we got the Java, we got the Ajax and everything else, and you have responsive design and everything else. What do you think in the future is going to be able to, if you've got all these problems and it may affect your ranking, we don't know. But say it did, and you fixed all those things and maybe you actually had a uniform approach that's cleaning up your Java and cleaning up everything else code-wise that's universal on a phone, tablet, PC, wherever, TV, wherever you might be seeing this media. If it's responsive enough to actually calibrate to that and have responsive CSS as well as JavaScript or HTML5, whatever you want to call it, can that also help with visitor experience, let alone ranking?
So I'm not understanding your question. What's your question?
Can it actually help if you actually have everybody, every tablet and every device capable of actually loading quickly and no errors?
Can that help? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Google said so. I mean, Google said, having a responsive site is the way to go. They said you could definitely go with a mobile version, but it does definitely help with rankings and so forth.
Well, I know that, Barry. I'm just trying to actually point that out, that most companies are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But we don't need to go responsive. It's just what Google wants us to do. I hear that a lot with my clients. Like, why do you want to spend all this extra money on going responsive? I've got 1,000 pages deep or whatever. It's going to cost me a fortune. Why is it so extra worth it for me? All right, Barry.
There's somebody walking in here, so I'll be right back.
I'd have to say where it's worth it is if your traffic is 75% mobile, then obviously it's worth the investment, to give them a good user experience.
Okay.
There is that, but I mean, not only that, that things are evolving and platforms are changing, and even though maybe right now you don't have a very high proportion of mobile, that may not hold true next week. And it's worth it running with the flow of technology on this rather than just keeping it outdated. I mean, the one thing I'm finding, I've actually still got a handful of old test sites that are basically table based. Oh yeah, no, you better believe it.
I've got the same way.
I've kept some of that stuff up there just to see what the hell would happen,
Exactly.
And I mean, at the moment, there just seems to be a very gradual erosion. Where stuff that hasn't had its content updated, but has had the technological platform that content lives on, brought up to speed, performs totally different. So, it's not anything that's life-threatening at this point in time, but,
it's a Frankenstein site.
It needs to be thought about and it needs to be addressed. There's going to have to be periodic reinvention here, just to go with the time. You can't just sit on the thing and then expect it to perform for the rest of eternity.
Thanks, bud.
Is this thing on?
Hey, there it is.
What do you want? I thought I told you never to come back.
You've been banned from this place, buddy.
I know it. I had a question. In Penguin, you have to clean up your backlinks and your toxic links and that type of stuff. But Google won't reapply whatever score, whether it be better or worse, depending on if you disavowed even good links, until the next Penguin update. Why are we seeing a mass influx on Panda when I thought I had read where Panda, as you clean up your user experience and over time your user experience gets better, then your ranks slowly move up. And it seems like it was like they just rescored my user experience score, my Panda score, and my traffic has taken off like crazy. I'm just wondering what y'all's thoughts were on that.
Define crazy.
8,000-9,000 hits a day or impressions a day to pushing over 20,000.
Nice.
So your question was, again, say that one more time.
I was under the impression that the Panda thing, that as you fix Panda, I mean, I've been doing this for a year and a half.
Right.
As I fix all the Panda things, as I fix the duplicate content, as I fix the 404 messages, as I fix, all that type of stuff, and I've been doing that over this entire time, the rankings have still stayed low and been going lower and lower and lower. And then all of a sudden, just because of this Panda 4.0 update, it's like, okay, we forgive you, poof, right back where you were.
Well, so Panda was being updated, according to Google, monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess whatever you were doing wasn't good enough for the Panda 3.0 monthly update to work. So Panda's original 3.0 algorithm was being updated monthly, and it didn't trigger you to be fixed.
Exactly.
But whatever Google did with the Panda 4.0 and made it a little bit more softer or gentler, that might have been just enough for you to pop, as you said.
Congratulations.
And Trey, you're still not responsive yet. You've actually been working on an opportunity for responsive. What do you think, guys, of he actually inflated his ranking, but what happens if he goes to responsive now?
If a responsive, I think Google said, if somebody searches on a mobile device, which a lot of people do, they will give some type of ranking boost to those sites that are responsive or mobile friendly over those that are not. So if you have X% of your search traffic coming from mobile, which I assume in many cases it's over 20% these days.
About 45.
Yeah, most of the time it's half these days. Then going responsive is going to be a big important thing for you. If your competitors are not responsive or mobile friendly, you'll have a slight advantage. Is that wrong or?
No, you're right.
I think you're right.
No, that's exactly what we've been talking about, Trey.
And I don't think it would affect his rankings going from. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks. Sorry. I had another question for you guys there. Do you think one of the ways that they're softening this new extra soft, fluffy panda, do you think one of the ways they're softening it is maybe making it page-based as opposed to site-based?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how many people just go to the homepage of your website? Most of them are going to the content that you've actually asked for. If I'm looking for car insurance, I'm going to go and make sure I land on a car insurance page that's actually going to give me a quote. If I'm looking for a lawn care service, I'm going to look for someplace in my local area to fix my lawn and take care of my plants, right? Totally different. Totally different SEO model for each one of those, but at the same time, the concept still lives. You still have to be relevant. If that page is relevant, then you're actually going to rank for that page, just like you were actually doing a PPC advertisement. You have a landing page purposely made for that page, but then again, this is now organic, so that page can actually get a lot better conversion if you optimize it like you would a paid advertisement page. So I think internal pages are going to be a lot more important in the future.
See, I see it more as a topical focus, category specific. I think turning around and just trying to optimize page by page by page by page by page is gradually losing its mileage. Strong topical focus across categories and or sites is a better way forward to me. But then again, I know plenty of people that disagree with that view.
I think it's all about having the address in the footer. That's all that matters.
You really? I don't know about that.
You need to have site-wide links all the way through that footer, making sure you have perfect anchor text for those people who are actually doing affiliate marketing.
I'm just waiting for Matt Storms to send me a message right now.
What you need is footer links to all your 50 other domains, and then on your 50 other domains.
Hey, Barry, speaking of footer links, let's not go into footer links, but have we ever seen in this update anything being affected by affiliate marketing?
In this Panda 4 update?
Yeah. If we look at some of the people who were affected, we looked at some of the top people, but we haven't looked at some of the top affiliate marketers in the industry to figure out if they actually took a drop. Because I think they did, because if you take eBay, for example, being one of the biggest resellers and having the biggest actual inventory for iframe-based or JavaScript-based insertion into your code, that, I think, may have also had part to do with eBay's falling. But I can't confirm that yet.
Josh could probably answer that question.
It's actually very interesting because out of all my problem children, as I like to call them, I do a lot of disaster recovery, and I do a lot of sort of crawl back from penalties and what have you. And out of those problem children, everybody's seen large gains through this update apart from one, and they're the one with the large affiliate network.
That's what I was considering. I'm seeing
that is quite interesting.
Sorry to throw the wrench in the conversation. Anybody else?
No,
As usual.
Right, sorry, okay. Barry, I was interrupting you.
I do that. I'm one of those interrupters, but you gotta love me.
We do.
I know. It's all right. All right, next. What's on? What do you got? Come on, you're up. You haven't talked for a while. Now you're talking.
Well, let's anybody have questions? Anybody have any SEO advice or therapy?
Yeah, totally. Do we have any comments?
Nobody has any SEO problems?
Well, no, nobody's got any that wants to admit it. I can tell you a bunch of them from the Google Webmaster Help Forum, but that would be not very nice.
My site's not ranking. What's wrong?
Your site is ranking, okay?
Hey, every site ranks. The question is where.
Where? My site's not on page 1. Why not?
Because it ranks for exit. Oh, sorry.
Oh, nobody's got anything. I posted a link earlier. It's the article is like a few weeks old. I don't know if that's. I mean, I think it's good conversation around the panda thing. Here, I'll post the link in here again. I gotta go find it. But it was around the penguin or the panda patent that Google has, and it was a little bit around kind of like implied links and a little bit of commentary around no follows, which I brought up a couple times. But I thought it was a really interesting. Just a really interesting exploration around how links are working today and potentially the impact of mentions of just contextual content links or mentions too, and then specifically no follows. I will put a quote in here that I found really interesting, which is specific to the no follows. Is Google certainly knows that these links are there, and that this patent could suggest that they are taking little more notice of them than they are letting on.
That's a good point, man. Michael, that's spot on. I want to go back and send me. You put it in the comments below, you said?
Yeah, it's the Moz post. It was actually not originally on Moz, so it was on.
I remember that post. Anyhow, yeah, there's a bunch of other things. I mean, I'm sure, Michael, you're probably doing the same thing on your wall. You're probably having what you find and kind of posting, and I think all of us probably have that. Mm-hmm. I know Barry especially is on top of it, right, Barry? But yeah, I mean, I'm actually going through some of my things with eBay and some of these, Ask.com. What I want to try to find out realistically is what really hit them, because I don't feel is being really investigated. We all have the tools to be able to go through and analyze this information. I want to understand the real root, but I want to take all the way from the top level who got hit the worst, and then I want to look at and analyze the small mom and pops that may have gotten hit or have gained, and why they may have gained. So those are the things. One of the posts I've got just recently on my wall on Google Plus is going to be keeping up with that type of trend. So
definitely,
I'm meant to have fun with it. I love this kind of stuff because it's a challenge for us.
So let's have Trey ask his question.
Yes, go for it, Trey.
All right. For about the last 7 or 8 months, when I decided I have to take my mobile-friendly site and make it fully responsive, I've been looking at different frameworks. One of the frameworks I looked at was Genesis, and I've looked at the Foundation, whatever else. And it seems like a lot of these techniques, like the sidebar menu on a desktop, you fully see it, but then as you shrink down the browser, or you go down to a smaller device that has a smaller window, sometimes you might want to get rid of that sidebar, and so you're showing the actual content, but have it accessible by that the three little menu icon, and then of course it'll slide in from the side or something like that. Well, some of these techniques say, all right, we'll show this set of links when we're in this thing, and then we'll hide this one and show another set of links, and you have to actually put 2 sets of links in there, which would double the number of links on your site. So should you have one set with rel no follow on it and the other set normal?
No.
No.
I think because HTML wise, both of them is going to be readable and Google sees them. I mean,
you might get in trouble with the CSS if you do it. Well, there's a lot of thought to go in that. Was on right. I mean, you're the main guy on that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, Trey. Did you say you're doing responsive design?
I'm I'm in the process of moving my site to responsive, fully responsive site, and I've decided on using a framework called Foundation.
Okay, so if you're doing responsive design, you don't need two versions of the website. You have one version of the website and using CSS media calls to scale the design depending on the size of the browser that goes there.
Correct.
Responsive is one design.
Yeah, but their technique that they're using, you can hide or not show, or actually show depending on if you do responsive first, as far as start off mobile first and work your way up. We start off mobile, the actual menu, the sidebar navigation menu is off the screen. It's off canvas.
That's going to put you in a penalty automatically.
What?
Huh?
No. It's a bad responsive design. So that's not a problem with responsive per se, that's just a bad design. Yeah, no, responsive design is actually really good if you have a designer who knows how to do it. It works really well, but it has to be done right. Obviously, you design for your biggest audience first, and then you drill down from there. But responsive is one design for every device.
And guys, what I meant by actually putting an image off the browser, I mean, basically we've done that even with a basic website, and that's been penalized. That's all I was going after. I don't know how it affects
different scenario, different use case.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, I just wanted to say goodbye. I have to go drink some beer now.
Sounds like a plan.
Especially my rip arm.
See you, Josh.
Catch you later.
Thanks for the hangout.
Yeah, I have to see the Foundation framework.
Yeah, look at foundation.zerb.com.
Mm-hmm. Never actually worked with it.
Yeah, Trey, my first question was, why would you want a completely different set of links?
It's not it's the same set. It's just one is in one div class that allows it to be an off-canvas one, and the other set is in another div class that is.
John knows the answer.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Are you sure it's serving when it goes to a mobile version? It's not completely hiding the other set?
Well, I know that I have to give it, say, given a certain size, and they have like tiny, small, medium, large, extra large, and those are the different breakpoints, and you can set whatever size, width, or height, or whatever is those breakpoints. And I know it can be shown.
Give John Miller a chance to answer it.
Yeah, well, Trey, you've got a template that we can all look at. I think that's probably going to be a huge advantage
Yeah,
for us.
let me post that. Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning phase of me moving to the new thing.
Yeah, it's easier to look at the code because it's pretty. I think it's pretty clean from last time I looked at it.
Welcome, John.
We got John.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
What's going on, bud?
I was posted.
I missed most of the question.
Trey, do you want to repeat your question?
Sure. In moving to a new fully responsive website design, and it's just basically the template, one of the techniques that Foundation class framework tends to use is that they have a menu, a normal navigation menu, and then as you shrink up your screen, maybe that navigation menu then pops up to a bar that you can then access, and then it slides in off the screen. That's an off-canvas menu when you're on a small device. In doing that code, in order for me to make it work, it seems like I have to actually list a set of links for the off-canvas menu, but when you're on a PC, that's hidden or not displayed, and then another div class with a bunch of other links, the same links, is then shown when you're on the desktop, but when you go to the mobile device, this one's hidden and this one slides in off canvas. So there's two sets of links for your navigation, and they're all in the code at the same time. My first thing was I was sitting there thinking one set I'd set there no follow, and the other set I'd let it go on there, but I'm starting to get a little different feedback here.
I wouldn't worry about the no follow stuff in that regard. If these are the same links, it's not that you have to like scope PageRank or like take care of any unnatural links there. So from that point of view, I wouldn't worry about that. Some some people, when they do responsive design, they use the same links and just display them differently. So that might be a possibility. But if you can't do that, I think it's fine to do it that way, the way you have it now. So essentially, you have two of these navigation menus. One of them is visible at any given time. That works. That can work, yeah. So I wouldn't kind of like worry about the hidden text or anything like that. That's something where, from our point of view, if we can recognize it's hidden, we'll just ignore that. So it's not that we would penalize a website for having a hidden navigation or for having kind of these accessibility features where you have menus that pop up if you hit the right keyboard combination, those kind of things. That's not something where we take any kind of manual action or where the algorithms would automatically kind of demote a site for that.
Great.
Cool. Right.
Thank you, John.
Anyone have anything else before we start wrapping this up?
Quick question for John. I've always wondered this. How many languages do you speak?
That's the most unique question, I think. 4.
I guess Swedish. Mostly 2, English and German. I speak a little bit of French. I understand a little bit of Italian, but I don't really speak it. I don't speak Swiss German, even though I live in Switzerland. So.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a real disadvantage, actually. You know, you're neck of the woods.
I understand it, and I guess if you give me enough beer, maybe I'll try to speak it. But I never really get started by myself. Yeah.
One thing that got me is when I was in Zurich there a couple of months ago, I could understand the Swiss German perfectly, but nobody had a clue what I was saying in my dialect of German. It was really funny.
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Right. Well, if that's it, if we're just down to how many languages does John speak, I guess we'll start wrapping this up.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay, so I'll catch you all later. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, John.